I think really Putin has made a miscalculation here. He's miscalculated the will of the Ukrainian people to fight. He's miscalculated the Europeans coalescing over this. He's miscalculated NATO. He's miscalculated the United States. And I think over time, there'll be more and more pressure put on him as countries become more and more able to either have other sources of natural gas or other sources of energy. And some of that will take time. But within the United States, you know, we've done it almost immediately. We have a great deal of energy underground in the United States that we could actually get access to very quickly if we wanted to. And so I think that Putin is seeing this and seeing votes in the United Nations where he and one other country are the only ones on his side. So he's going to have to make a decision. And the question is, how long will the Russian people allow this to go along? And will there eventually be discontent in Russia enough so that he will actually withdraw? So the resistance of the Ukrainians is important, probably the most important thing, how lethal that is and how much they struggle, but also the viewpoint of the Russians at home. It's hard for them to express themselves without going to jail, but you get the feeling that the Russian people aren't behind this war.
Yeah, and focusing on the Ukrainian people and talking about protests against the war, President Zelensky had a message for those folks protesting. I'll play that for you. Here's that.
The war of Russia is not only the war against Ukraine. Its meaning is much wider. Russia started the war against freedom as it is. This is only the beginning for Russia on the Ukrainian land. Russia is trying to defeat the freedom of all people in Europe, of all the people in the world. It tries to show that only crude and cruel force matters.
Zelensky there has been no stranger to the public eye, again putting out that message for those to come out and show support for Ukraine. They are not a part of NATO. We know that. However, he is calling on the help of the world at this time, and at one point asking President Biden to be the leader of world peace. Can President Biden do that today?
Well, I think what Zelensky mentioned there is maybe not true. You know, the fact that Putin has sights on invading Europe. I think that he's having trouble enough in Ukraine. There's a long history of Ukraine being part of Russia, so you can at least see, it's not justified, but you can see Putin's perspective on this. So I don't think that it's necessarily true that Putin is intent on invading Poland, Germany, taking England, and coming over to the United States. None of that really, that's fanciful. But the reason he puts it forward is to try to get more unity. Now, the problem with NATO is this. We promised back in the 1990s that when Germany unified and became part of NATO, that we wouldn't extend it. We wouldn't extend it to Russia's borders. I think it was foolish over the years to keep promising this because really it was a false promise. We kept egging Ukraine on saying, oh, we'll make you part of NATO and we'll defend you and protect you. But this went on for more than a decade. Then Ukrainians became excited about it. Zelensky became excited about it. But it was very provocative because Russia had always said that these former satellites, these former provinces of Russia should never be part of NATO. And the thing is ultimately, I think the Europeans probably would have vetoed it anyway, but it became very provocative, and it's the main cause of the war, according to the Russians. Now, I think it would still be a mistake to put them in Ukraine. It doesn't excuse the Russian aggression. To put Ukraine into NATO, I think, would still be a mistake and would lead to World War. We would be in the middle of World War III right now if Ukraine were part of NATO. So if you put them in now, in the middle of the war, that means U.S. troops, that means German troops, it means all of our planes. Could we defeat Russia? Sure, in all likelihood. That is, unless Russia decides to launch a nuclear attack and we lose half the world. I mean, so there have been calmer minds through the years, not just saying, oh, what can we do, but what are the consequences of getting involved in a major war with another nuclear power?